Despite having a hard time distinguishing my dreams from reality, I love reading books that scare me, give me the heebie-jeebies, and straight up keep me up at night. In my birthday book haul video, you can watch that after this, I promise it'll still be there, I talked about half of the books that I got for my birthday, and today I want to talk through the other half, which are full of terrors. So, let's get into it. Ace of Spades is a novel by Ferreira Iyimede. All you need to know is I'm here to divide and conquer, like all great tyrants do. From Aces. When two Nivea's private academy students, Devon and Chamika, are selected to be part of the elite school's senior prefects, it looks like their year is off to an amazing start. After all, not only does it look great on college applications, but it officially puts them in the running for valedictorian too. Shortly after the announcement is made though, someone who goes by Aces begins sending anonymous text messages to reveal secrets about the two of them that turn their lives upside down and threaten every aspect of their carefully planned futures. As Aces shows no signs of stopping, what seemed like a sick prank quickly turns into a dangerous game, with all the cards stacked against them. Can Devon and Chamika stop Aces before things become incredibly deadly? With heart-pounding suspense and relevant social commentary comes a high-octane thriller. People describe this book as Get Out meets Gossip Girl, and yeah, from what I've read about this book, that sounds about right. It seems to explore the relationship between anti-Blackness and prestigious institutions, and a lot of schools in America, whether it's a university or a high school, often are prestigious because they have a history that's rooted in some kind of subjugation of Black people. Universities like Penn, Yale, and Princeton all have deep-rooted ties to slavery and other discriminatory practices. On the surface, this book has a main story of what essentially boils down to bullying, but just beneath, we can see that it's not just a story about institutionalized racism. It's also a depiction of the danger that people of color in white spaces experience on a regular basis, to the point that we become so accustomed to them that we consider them to be the norm. This author went viral in 2020 after she landed a 7-figure book deal. She was only 21 when that happened, but I didn't hear about this until just a few months ago, and I'm excited to dig in. Grown is a novel by Tiffany D. Jackson, and it was released in 2020. Award-winning Tiffany D. Jackson delivers another riveting rip-from-the-headlines mystery that exposes horrific secrets hiding behind the limelight and embraces the power of a young woman's voice. When legendary R&B artist Corey Fields spots Enchanted Jones at an audition, her dreams of becoming a famous singer take flight, until Enchanted wakes up with blood on her hands and zero memory of the previous night. Who killed Corey Fields? Before there was a dead body, Enchanted's dreams had turned into a nightmare, because behind Corey's charm and star power was a controlling dark side. Now he's dead, and the police are at the door, and all signs point to Enchanted. What that description doesn't cover is the fact that this book is inspired by a real-life story that most people have at least heard of, the R. Kelly case. If you're not familiar with that story, then I'll leave a link in the description that details out that timeline, because that man deserves zero airtime on this channel. After the documentary about him was released, one of the worst things was the reaction to it. Adults continually blame victims for their victimhood, and that shaming of girls becomes internalized, making it harder for them to look for help in the right places. This also reminds me of a study that I read once that showed adults looked at Black girls and immediately thought they were less innocent and more adult than their counterparts, and that they were more likely to know what they were doing. I'm excited to read this book because it sounds like it does a good job at capturing the nuance of powerful men who prey on young girls, the mechanisms in place to protect them, and how young girls sometimes find themselves in abusive relationships. In case it wasn't clear, there are a few trigger warnings with this book, so I'll be sure to drop a link to that down in the description as well. The Taking of Jake Livingston is the debut novel by Ryan Douglas. Living in two worlds is exhausting, and no one knows this better than 16-year-old Jake Livingston. His working-class, diverse neighborhood is a far cry from the world of St. Clair Prep, where he is one of the only Black students, constantly at the mercy of racist teachers and peers who don't understand him. But when his neighbor, a survivor of a grisly school shooting, is murdered and the bloody initials of the now dead shooter, Sawyer Dune, are left in the entryway hall of Jake's home, Jake is forced to confront another world that he wishes he could escape. the world of the dead. As a medium, Jake sees ghosts around him all the time. Most are harmless, stuck in their death loops as they relive their deaths over and over again. They rarely interact with people. And while for most of his life, Jake has avoided them, this time there's no running away. Sawyer was a troubled teen who shot and killed 6 kids at a local high school before taking his own life. Now he's a powerful, vengeful ghost, and he has plans for his afterlife. Plans that include Jake. When Sawyer begins stalking him, high school becomes a different kind of survival game. One Jake isn't sure he can win. This book has been described as Get Out meets Holly Johnson or Danielle Vega. I guess people really love Jordan Peele's work. It uses ghosts and astral projections to explore anti-Blackness, mental illness, and homophobia. Douglas has written extensively about the lack of representation in publishing, especially as it relates to queer Black boys. Growing up as a queer Black boy in Atlanta, he related to characters in horror movies because being bullied as a child made him feel anxiety and fear, emotions that he noticed were very similar to those felt by characters in those films. I'm looking forward to reading this because it explores so many complex issues through typical horror elements and features a queer Black boy. It's just not really a combination that you come across very often. Last on the list is The Quarter Storm by Veronica C. Henry. A city ruled by water and a priestess who wields it to uncover a murderer in the French Quarter. Haitian-American voodoo priestess Mambo Reina Dumont runs a healing practice from her New Orleans home. Gifted with water magic since she was a child, Reina is devoted to the benevolent traditions of her ancestors. After a ritual slaying in the French Quarter, police arrest a fellow voodooisant. Detective Roman Frost, Reina's ex-boyfriend, and fierce non-believer, is eager to tie the crime and a half dozen others to the voodoo practitioners of New Orleans. Reina resolves to find the real killer and defend the voodoo practice and customs, but the motives behind the murder are deeper and darker than she imagines. As Reina delves into the city's shadows, she untangles more than just the truth behind a devious crime. It's a conspiracy. As a killer wields dangerous magic to thwart Reina's investigation, she must tap into the strength of her own power and faith to solve a mystery that threatens to destroy her entire way of life. And I know what you're thinking, finally a book that isn't about race. But of course it's about race. Almost everything is about race. You see, the history of voodoo is tightly intertwined with the history of slavery. Voodoo, spelled V-O-O-D-O-O, is a religion that was developed in West African countries. As those people became enslaved and brought to Haiti, they also came under the influence of Roman Catholicism via colonizers and slave owners and created voodoo, spelled V-O-D-O-U. The religion views humans as spirits inhabiting physical bodies in the visible world, guided by ancestral spirits in the unseen world. Voodoo energized the quest for liberation for enslaved Africans, and as a result, colonizers viewed voodoo as a threat to their power and began to demonize the religion. There is so much more on this topic, so I'll drop some links in the description if you're interested in learning more, but it all makes me super excited to read this book and get a glimpse of Louisiana voodoo, even if it is through a fictionalized setting. Let me know down in the comments which one of these you think that I should start with, or which book you'd like to see a full review on in the future. Even if you don't plan to read any of these books, hopefully you learned something new or are inspired to read something frightful in more ways than one.